Hey, welcome back to the channel, fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype, here with your update here on Wednesday morning, August the 28th, 2024. Let's go ahead and take a look at your latest weather headlines here for today, as we're going to be tracking some potential severe weather here across portions of the Northeast, as well as a couple areas there in the high plains as well. We'll talk about that in more detail here in a second. Also going to give you the latest out on the tropics. Things are starting to brew out there, but again, beware social media. I know we're heading toward the heart of the hurricane season, but I've seen some things get thrown around in the social media world that you just need to be aware of. So be careful what weather source you get out there on social media. And as far as the climate outlook, hey, we got a nice update that came in yesterday. It looks like a nice little cool down for parts of the country. We'll talk about that in greater detail here in just a moment. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of this report, if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider it. We would just like to welcome here 45 new subscribers here to the channel. If you haven't joined, just please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content, and give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of this report. It does help with the YouTube algorithm, and I really do appreciate your help. All right, let's take a look at the current conditions here as far as the satellite imagery across the nation. Not looking too bad. We do have some storms here across portions of Illinois here to start our day. A little bit of activity up here toward Montana. Some storms off the coast of Texas here associated with a weak tropical wave here along the Texas Gulf Coast. But most of the nation looking pretty dry here to begin our day. You're looking at your current surface map as well as the national radar. You can see those rains here. A few showers from Ohio stretching back over toward Illinois. Some heavier rains there. Not too far from St. Louis. We'll show you that radar here in a second. Nice little cool patch here. Even a little snow showing up here on the Canadian radar here. As you're seeing this little low here, it's going to kind of traverse across the northern tier. That's what's going to set up some severe weather, active weather up here going into tomorrow especially. And there you see the rains there along the Gulf Coast. Let's look at your watches and warnings right now. At least this is shrinking down a little bit. Some good news there as far as the heat advisories. You see the orange there across portions of Indiana going back over toward Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Virginia, even a little bit of pocket of excessive heat warnings there. Again, that's the combination of the temperature as well as the humidity, and it's going to be feeling like well into the triple digits for those areas. So again, if you're going to be outside for a length of time, just make sure you drink plenty of fluid and stay hydrated, okay? All right, we're looking at your local radar. Again, we got some of these storms here across portions of the central portions of Illinois here for this morning. You see some of the cluster of lightning there. St. Louis is quiet here for the moment, but you got some more shower activity here across portions of northeastern Missouri, stretching back toward Jefferson City. So you might get a few showers here to kind of work their way back into St. Louis here for later today. Now, our weather city of the day, we got the Labor Day weekend coming up. Let's go to the beach. Let's have some fun. This is Pensacola Beach. Beautiful cam here at the Pensacola Beach Pier. Going to be a pretty decent beach day, although you may have to dodge some rains late in the afternoon. So the forecast here called for partly cloudy skies in Pensacola with a high temperature right around 90. Again, about a 50% chance of some afternoon showers and storms, and probably see a similar forecast kind of going into your Labor Day weekend. And hey, if you would like to make your city the weather city of the day, and if you know of a good weather cam, webcam or something like that, just post a link down below, and we'll go ahead and use that for future broadcasts. All right, now it's time to go ahead and talk about our severe weather outlook here. We're going to be looking at our day one outlook here across the country. We're going to be watching a couple areas of concern. Obviously, we were talking about the Northeast. It actually stretches back into the Midwest as well, just a little bit there. And then we also got that secondary pocket there setting up there across the Dakotas. So these are our two zones. We'll watch this one here, obviously, and then this little stretch back here with that frontal boundary that's kind of stretched across that area. Those will be the areas of concern for potential severe weather. Gusty winds will be the main threat that you're going to be watching for in those locations. So the tornado risk will be running about 2%. That's going to be, again, across the Dakotas, North and South Dakota, a little pocket there. The hail threat will also be the highest in that zone. Pretty limited there as you look back over toward areas of the Midwest, or really not Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic really into the Northeast, and then stretching back into the Midwest into that zone. Be pretty low. Don't have to worry about that too much. And then looking at your wind damage, both areas, again, will be seeing that 15% chance of seeing some high gusty winds, greater than 55 miles per hour in those zones for that severe risk, which is, again, slight. Scattered severe thunderstorms expected into those zones. Now, as far as the day two outlook is concerned, we'll look at the day two. That pocket in there, the high plains, will begin to shift off toward the east a little bit there. So we're going to be watching cities like Minneapolis once again under the gun. So we've had a very active storm track here across the northern tier for the last week or so, and it looks like that's going to continue at least for a few more days. And then we got another little cluster we're watching there across the mid-Atlantic for Virginia and into North Carolina as we go into your Thursday. That's what we're expecting here for tomorrow. Now, as far as the day 3 outlook is concerned, as we wrap up the work week here, that's what things will be looking not too bad. We'll go and look at the day 3 here. And again, things kind of diminish a little bit. Again, just looking at that little pocket there across the Great Lakes. That's what we'll be watching there in that green, stretching back into Illinois, into this zone. So we'll be looking at just a marginal risk for severe weather for those days as another frontal system will be moving through. And it'll be behind that front will be some nice cool temperatures going into early next week. We'll show you that in greater detail here in just a second. Again, so recapping our concern, really going to be focusing here on the areas in the Northeast and stretching back to the Midwest. So we're talking about getting close to New York City, but definitely Philadelphia, stretching over to Pittsburgh, over to Columbus. Those are the zones that need to be watched for the potential for severe weather, especially this afternoon when we get those daytime heating. So stay weather aware if you're in that part of the country. All right, time to go out and check out the latest of what's going on out in the tropics. And we're finally getting a couple things to watch out there as things are starting to get a little interesting as we've got a little wave out here in the middle of the Atlantic. And we've also got one there in the dead center where the X is right there. So we got a couple of zones that we're kind of going to watch closely over the next several days. Let's go ahead and look at the satellite imagery on this. Again, we're looking at the 2 zones here for the potential. This one's a tropical wave out here, and this one's had a little swirl with it right up here on the northern edge here. There's finally getting some thunderstorms around that little center of circulation that's there. Could potentially develop into something, but again, that's only 10% for that one way up in the middle of the Atlantic, and then that tropical wave back off toward the west. Now, what I've been seeing out in social media yesterday that kind of caught my attention is the fact that I was seeing some postings of some sort of hurricane expected for Labor Day weekend or something. Not going to happen, folks. Labor Day weekend's looking pretty good. Now, beyond Labor Day, things will start to get a little busier out there, as I do expect we're going to see a named storm here pretty soon. The European ensembles, it's kind of hinting at that. We've got 3 different zones that we're kind of watching closely here, as you got that kind of looping right there. So obviously we're talking about one here coming off of the Cape Verde here with a potential storm. You got that one wave we're going to be watching here, the second zone here, and even into the Gulf of Mexico. We got 3 different zones to watch as we go in toward the end of next week. Again, the peak of the hurricane season is September 10th, and we're finally seeing indications that we're going to see things begin to develop as we go into the month of September. The new Global Tropics Hazard Outlook, which came out yesterday afternoon, is illustrating this. We're looking at that 2 pockets there showing 40% chance of development. That's for September 4th through the 10th. And looking beyond that, the 11th through the 17th, again, in that same zone, in that same area, looking at the potential for some more development for tropical depressions to form. So not unusual to see this. This is what we've been waiting on, but it's been very, very slow this hurricane season because of environmental factors that just not been very hospitable out in the tropics. Again, the peak of the hurricane season is coming up in September. These are the hot zones, those areas there in red. We're looking historically back the last 100 years, and that's where we typically see development, and we'll be watching that closely as we get ready to flip that calendar and we head toward the peak. So it's this question, where is Francine going to be formed? That's what we're looking at. That's our next named storm on the list. And right now, if we look at the latest from the European model, I do want to show you this is the fact that I believe it's going to be the one out in the middle of the Atlantic here as we go into the end of next week. So we're talking about 7 days away here. The areas there in blue are your lower pressure. The areas there in that yellowish cover, that's kind of high pressure, okay? So looking pretty quiet. Again, we're not expecting anything here as we go into this upcoming weekend. We're going to be looking at this one trough as we go into Saturday. It's this tropical wave right here coming off the coast of Africa that is going to be watched. Another thing I've noticed with this as well as we take this forward, your semi-permanent features with the Bermuda high or even the Azores high really kind of getting beat back terribly. We see it there to the north there, briefly going into your Sunday. But again, that little area of disturbed weather kind of tracks its way across. We're watching it going. And then finally, there goes that low right there. Look at that on early Thursday morning. So we're looking at that potentially. This is where I believe Francine most likely is. It's the strongest feature shown so far, at least the latest model data here is showing that will probably likely be Francine. and then this will continue to move off, though. So what's interesting is that it looks like there's something ejecting off here into the North Atlantic off of Africa. Very unusual to see that far north. So we got that zone there, that zone here. You go, looks like a tropical wave to watch through here, and then you're seeing lower pressures out in the Gulf of Mexico. So again, indications as we get beyond the end of next week, where things will start to finally heat up, and we want to see how the overall global pattern goes to see exactly where any potential storms may potentially impact the continental United States as we go into the end of next week. So we'll back this up and go ahead and switch over to the American global model here. We're looking at the continental United States. We're going to be looking at the forecast here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this as we're going to be tracking a couple of storms, especially across the northern tier. They're going to be bringing in some cooler temperatures here. So again, looking at for this afternoon, as we stop right there, again, we're looking at the potential for some storms kind of in this neighborhood here. We'll be watching this bowling ball here. That'll be bringing in some cooler weather eventually across the high plains as we head later in the week. And we're finally starting to get indications here of some moisture coming back across the Gulf Coast, which is going to be kind of increasing across the southeast. So it's been very dry across the southeast. Looks like we'll start to see indications of more of your air mass thunderstorms kind of returning. So again, watch that timestamp there in that upper right-hand corner there as we kind of take this forward again. Going into your Thursday, that's where we're kind of seeing that active weather going into tomorrow. Again, that's where that severe weather outlook we're showing it right through here. It's a pretty dynamic looking system. Could move out some isolated tornadoes there. You're still looking at a little batch of some storms going into Virginia, into North Carolina there late in the day on Thursday. Start to see that air mass stuff starting to increase across the southeast from Mississippi back over toward Texas as well as we go throughout the day on Thursday. Now, as we continue this going forward, as we go ahead through, again, that front will continue to move across the Great Lakes. As we go into the day on Friday, you see that pretty good cold front here, and we'll be cooling the temperatures down, beating back those 90-degree temperatures that have inundated a big part of the country here for the last week or so. We're definitely going to see some things begin to slowly change. And as we go forward here again, watch what happens here as that front will clear the northeast as we go into this upcoming weekend. Going into Sunday, we'll clear that. And some very unusually cool weather going to be kind of filtering in here across the Great Lakes and into New England as we go in toward Labor Day weekend. Some very unusually cold, almost very fall-like temperatures be moving into that part of the country as we go into your Labor Day itself on Monday. So again, that cool air will be filtering right into the south, into the northeast portion of the United States. Notice we're getting the moisture kind of increasing here back across areas of Texas. You can see the moisture increasing down here, but most of the country looking pretty quiet here on your Labor Day. There might be a few more air mass thunderstorms for the afternoon. I'll get this up till about 5 o'clock again. So you couldn't rule out a few thunderstorms here across the southeast, again, into Texas, but a lot of the country, West Coast looking dry, New England looking pretty good, the high plains, also the Midwest, also looking very good for Labor Day. So any kind of barbecue plans, most of the country is looking pretty good at that, not looking too bad at all. So let's go ahead and take this out again to the end of its run as we go into next week. Again, we'll see that move on by. We'll watch for another system that'll drop down out of Canada. This will be coming in going into Wednesday and Thursday. You're seeing some storms in response to that frontal system, another shot of cool air. Very progressive pattern to see these cool air masses come down. Unusual so for this early. We're still in summer months to see this kind of take place now. It'll be interesting to see if this kind of continues going into October. That could be an indication maybe we get an early frost, especially if this pattern continues. It's ultimately going to be dependent on how the hurricane season behaves, I believe. So this looks like another shot coming right down there, another cool shot coming down toward the end of next week with another cold front diving down here. And again, getting that cooler weather coming in across the high plains as we go in toward the end of next week. So we're talking about September the 6th with another cool shot. So again, it'll depend on if you're looking ahead toward October, if you want to know what the fall season is going to do, we'll see how the hurricane season behaves, because if you get a big major hurricane, that really does play a big factor in the overall global jet stream pattern to see how that's ultimately going to impact our weather. So let's talk about temperatures, all right? We know we're going to get some hot weather. It's coming. We've had it for a while, but I think we're going to be beating this back here as we go. So we're going to take a look at your high temperatures here daily, taking you up to Labor Day, okay? So let's take a look at the temperatures here going into Labor Day. Let's start off for your Wednesday afternoon. Again, you're looking at a pretty good swath of 90s, 97 here in northern Mississippi, 94 over to Kansas City, 91 into South Dakota. You got 90s over here into Pennsylvania. So you got a pretty good swath there of 90s here on your Wednesday. We're going to start beating back that white. That's the one thing we don't want to see. We want to see that kind of get shrunk down here a little bit. So as we go forward here, again, still looking at 99 in Nashville there on your Thursday, 95 Oklahoma City. But we do see some 60s here across the high plains here up in the Dakotas, and some 70s as well. So we're going to finally bring down some cooler temperatures. You can see it right here, and this is going to kind of plug this way. It's not going to get in the southeast that much, kind of a glancing blow with this as far as cooler temperatures are concerned. So as we go ahead and take this again into the future, going into your Friday. So we're talking about Friday afternoon temperatures. You clearly see the front there. Here's your Friday morning temperatures. You see that frontal boundary coming in here. We got 50s in here. Here's 57. Here's a 45. So we got some nice cooler air coming down behind that next frontal system as we go into this upcoming Labor Day weekend. So your afternoon highs here on Friday, again, still looking hot across the Midwest. We're still waiting for that frontal system to clear that area. That'll be coming through. Again, here's our frontal system right through here as we're going to beat back, especially these 90s here across the Ohio River Valley and going into the Northeast. That's going to be nice to get rid of that and some temperatures to finally get into more reasonable levels. And as we go and take this forward again, we'll take this all the way out. And as we go into the Saturday, still looking at temperatures there in the 90s across the south, but you really see the intrusion of that cool air coming down here. I mean, look at all these 60s in here. You got 50s and 60s into northern Missouri, 50s in here. Got a nice little cool down coming down for the beginning of the new month of September. And the afternoon highs on Sunday will still be hot across the southeast. You're still seeing some 90s, 96, 94. But you notice out toward the west, we are getting the heat to build back out here. All right, they've had some below normal temperatures out here, but as we head in toward Labor Day weekend, Sunday, Monday, look at that 99 right there, 94. Looking at 110, 112 degrees for the desert southwest regions there and in Southern California and into Arizona. So quite hot and steamy out into that neck of the woods. And as we go into Labor Day, let's check out Labor Day itself. We'll stop it there on the afternoon highs. So here's the afternoon highs on Labor Day. Again, it's going to be hot, steamy across the southeast. Hot there, definitely hot around the southwest. It's not quite as warm here, but still looking above normal temperatures there in the 90s across Washington State and Idaho as well, and out here into some of into Montana and there on the foothills there of the Rockies. But from basically the high plains, the Midwest, and into the Northeast, this little swath right here, you're looking at some nice, good seasonable temperatures. We're talking temperatures here, highs in the 60s for afternoon highs across New York State, Vermont, up that way. This is 64 near Buffalo. We're talking about some unusually cool weather expected to come down as we head into the start of the month of September. In fact, the Climate Outlook is illustrating this. This is a new update here from the Climate Prediction Center that came out yesterday. It is definitely highlighting the fact that we are looking at that over here and we're making sure that it's on there. It is on. So you can see the blue there across New England, stretching to the mid-Atlantic, stretching back here to the middle of the country. Again, we were showing you that above normal temperatures here in the west, and that's going to be continuing. When you look at the 6 to 10 day outlook, and then we go to the 8 to 14, still looking very hot out and steamy out here in the west. Still holding on to some below normal temperatures here along the eastern seaboard and above normal temperatures along the Gulf Coast. As far as precipitation is concerned, the 6 to 10 day outlook, again, with that cool Canadian air coming down, we're going to see below normal precipitation up here, above normal here across the southeast. This is needed. It's been very dry, especially from the Carolinas across most of the deep south. We've had limited afternoon thunderstorm development here, so we'll get some storms there. And looking out for 8 to 14, still holding above normal precipitation here across Florida, southeast Georgia, but a big swath of the country here looking at below normal precipitation with that, again, that cooler, dry air mass settling in out of Canada across this zone. So very interesting weather pattern, to say the least. Just a few things that are definitely unusual across the country. The fact that we're getting these progressive cool shots, kind of early to see that. We're not even officially in the fall yet. And if that pattern was to continue into October, it would not shock me to see some places get an early frost this year. But again, all that's going to be really dependent on the hurricane season. We're waiting for things to get going out there. And once it does, if we get a good major hurricane, it'll change the overall global pattern. That's the way the hurricanes work, as they transport that warm latent heat out of the tropics and take it poleward it definitely impacts the global weather pattern. So we'll see how that progresses as we go through the month of September. And if you would like to have these daily feeds as part of your YouTube feed, all you gotta do, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you learn on future content, and give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. Again, all those things help the YouTube algorithm as I'm trying to build a nice audience here to serve you, the public, here with some nice critical weather information whenever you need it without all the hype, okay? I'll bring it to you straightforward. All right, that's your forecast for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.